What made our failure platoon get presidential recognition? We were the absolute worst unit at Fort Campbell. 3rd Platoon, Charlie Company had the lowest PT scores, highest disciplinary rates, and most colorful collection of misfits the Army had ever assembled. Our platoon leader, 2nd Lieutenant Hayes, was fresh out of West Point and completely overwhelmed. Staff Sergeant Miller, our platoon sergeant, had given up trying to whip us into shape months ago. We were the dumping ground for problem soldiers nobody else wanted. Private Jake worked as a video game streamer before enlisting. Specialist Ashley had been a hacker who got caught and chose military service over prison. Corporal Brandon was a former street racer from Detroit. Private Tyler had been kicked out of 3 different colleges. The rest of us were equally unimpressive. Failed athletes, burnouts, guys running from bad decisions. Command had basically written us off as hopeless. We pulled the worst duties, got the broken equipment, and lived in the oldest barracks on base. Everything changed during Hurricane Katrina in August 2005. Our brigade got emergency deployment orders to New Orleans for disaster relief. While other platoons prepared for standard rescue operations, we got assigned to the most boring job possible. Guard duty at the Superdome, 12-hour shifts standing around while real soldiers did actual rescue work. We were bitter about it, but not surprised. Always got the worst assignments. Day 3 of the deployment, chaos erupted. Reports came in about armed looters targeting the main supply depot across the city. Critical medical supplies, food, and communications equipment. Everything needed for the relief effort. The convoy carrying reinforcements got stuck in flooding. Roads were impassable. No way to get back up to the depot in time. That's when Lieutenant Hayes got a desperate radio call from Colonel Williams. I need every available soldier at those coordinates immediately. Hayes looked around at our motley crew. Sir, I've only got 3rd Platoon, the rejects and troublemakers. Send them anyway. We're out of options. The depot was under siege when we arrived. About 20 armed men had already breached the perimeter fence. Local police were overwhelmed. National Guard units were scattered across the city dealing with other emergencies. That's when our weird collection of skills suddenly became valuable. Jake had spent years analyzing tactical video games. He immediately spotted weak points in the attackers' positions and suggested flanking maneuvers that actually worked. Ashley hacked into the depot's security system using her phone and a makeshift antenna, locked down all the buildings remotely, and activated every alarm system simultaneously. The noise and confusion scattered half the looters immediately. Brandon knew the exact sound signatures of different vehicle engines from his racing days. He identified which trucks the looters were using and where they'd parked, even in the dark, led us straight to their escape routes. Tyler, despite his academic failures, had grown up in New Orleans, knew every back alley and shortcut in the area, guided us through flood zones that GPS couldn't navigate. Within 2 hours, we captured the entire group and secured the depot. 0 casualties on our side. The medical supplies we saved ended up treating over 500 hurricane victims that week. News crews happened to be filming nearby when we led the suspects out in zip ties. Footage went national immediately. Local reporters interviewed Lieutenant Hayes, who gave credit to his soldiers' unique backgrounds and quick thinking. President Bush saw the coverage during his disaster briefing the next morning, called Colonel Williams personally to ask about the unit that had saved critical relief supplies. Within 48 hours, we were invited to a ceremony at the White House. Standing in the Oval Office 3 weeks later felt surreal. President Bush shook each of our hands individually, called us examples of American ingenuity and adaptability, said our success proved that diverse backgrounds create stronger teams. The presidential unit citation hangs in our old barracks to this day. Jake parlayed his military experience into a career with Army cyber warfare. Ashley became a counterintelligence specialist. Brandon teaches tactical driving at Fort Knox. Last month, I ran into Staff Sergeant Miller at a reunion. He'd kept newspaper clippings from our White House visit in his wallet for 18 years. Still tells new recruits about the platoon of misfits who saved the day when traditional soldiers couldn't. The Army learned something that week about unconventional warfare requiring unconventional soldiers. Now they actively recruit people with diverse civilian skills instead of trying to force everyone into the same mold. That security footage from the depot raid still gets shown at leadership school. Caption reads, "Excellence comes in many forms. Sometimes the Army's biggest failures become its greatest assets when circumstances demand creative solutions."